this video, I will share with you a very simple tool to prepare for your next interview. The tool I'm about to share with you is used by a vast majority of companies around the world for their interviewing process. So let's get started. So in most of the job descriptions you will come across as you are preparing for an interview, you will see that these job descriptions typically have a list of competencies or skills mentioned. Now, these skills could be soft skills like teamwork, problem solving, developing others, conflict management, drive for change, drive for results, or these could be hard skills like accounting, project management, advertising, logistics management, and so on. Of course, it depends on what job you're applying for. So the first thing you need to do is make a list of all those skills or competencies which are mentioned on the job description for the job that you're applying for. Once you have done that, think about an example from your previous job or any other previous experience you had in your school, college, or university, or any other business experience that you had where you have demonstrated that skill. Once you are very clear about which examples you will be quoting, that's when we come to this secret tool, which is called the STAR model. So what is this STAR model? It's basically a very structured way of explaining those examples that you have just thought about from your past and that show that you possess a certain skill which is mentioned on this job description. Now, the beauty of using this model is that 8 out of 10 times the interviewer on the other side would be using this model to seek those specific answers from you. So your ability to explain these examples or answer questions in this structure will massively boost your chances of success. So let's now look at the STAR model in a bit more detail. The first part of STAR is the situation. As you are explaining these stories or examples from your past, talk about the situation or the context in which this example happened. What were the people like? What was the business like? And so on. The next thing you will explain is the task. What was the task or what was the goal that you had? What were you trying to fix? Very specifically. Once you have explained the situation and the task, then you come to the action. This is where you're going to be spending the most amount of time. This is where really you are explaining what did you do. So talk about the specific actions you took and what are the challenges that you faced and how did you go about them. Be very specific here, because if you are giving like a loosey-goosey action and something which is really up in the air, you might make the interviewer suspicious that, is this guy really sharing a true example or this is just a story he's telling. And then finally, talk about the results. Talk about the results that you delivered in terms of key performance indicators or any tangible metric that was associated to the results. Now, over here, it's very important to remember that you don't always have to share success stories or, stellar results. Sometimes the interviewer might be interested in seeing how you learn from failure, because we all know that in our careers, not everything is always a success story, right? Sometimes there are a lot of failures as well. And the interviewers in a lot of cases are interested in learning from you, or they're interested in knowing how do you react to failure? How do you learn from failure? So if you're sharing a story which did not have great results, then talk about what did you learn from that and how would you apply those learnings differently in the future. So now let me share with you a real example of a STAR story or a STAR example from my own career. This was during an interview for a job that I actually got, so I'm pretty confident that this example worked, and that's why I would love to share this with you. So the question I was asked was about a soft skill which is driving change, and the specific question was, can you give an example when you had to drive change to solve a business problem? So in this case, I gave them an example of a time when I was the customer supply manager for a business which had 32 markets or 32 customers, and our service levels were very poor. And what we were trying to do at that time was, deliver the same level of service to all the customers, which was not possible. So this was kind of explaining the situation, right? So this is where the context is there, the number of customers are there, and so on. Then I moved to the task. My task was to work with my team of 5 direct reports to improve the customer service levels for the business. Then I moved to the action. So I realized that we were trying to serve all our customers the same way, regardless of their size. We had 4 customers, which were 50% of the business, 6 customers who were 30% of the business, and then there were 22 customers who were just 20% of the business. So clearly, there are a lot of different tiers of customers here, and we were trying to give the same level of service to the biggest customer and the smallest customer. So I launched a customer segmentation program. So this is now where I really get into the crux of the action here. So this customer segmentation program was designed to define separate service level agreements for the 3 customer tiers we had, and we offered more manageable service levels. So for example, to the smaller customers, we did not offer them a shipment every week, but every month. And you know what? They were actually happy with this because they did not want frequent shipments. But what they really wanted was whenever they get a shipment, whether it's, even if it's once a month, they wanted their shipments in full. So clearly, this was a way of making the customers happy or giving them what they really need, and also taking some stress out of the team. And then finally, I restructured my team. Before I had joined, each of my team members was dedicated to a factory. So let's say if one customer calls and asks for one product, you'll say that, okay, this person will answer your question. But if he asks about a product which is produced at a different factory, then they would go to a different person. So, for each customer, they would have to go to 5 different people. But the way I restructured the organization was that I dedicated one person for each customer tier. So it was almost like a one single window operation for each of those customers. The results in this case were pretty good. Our service level improved from 85% to 95%. We did a customer satisfaction survey before and after the implementation of this program. And before it was 60%, and then when we did the post survey, it was 85%, so clear improvement. And lastly, we won a regional excellence award for the implementation of this program. So I hope you can see in this example, the clarity in the situation box, clarity of the task, specificity of the action, with numbers, what was happening, what was the specific action, and then the results are showing some tangible improvements in specific metrics. So I hope you enjoyed this video. If you have any specific questions about this video, or you want me to make a video about a certain topic, please drop it in the comments box below, and keep watching, subscribe, learn, and apply these skills to your job and career. Good luck.